for you, Pete, this year, what's the one stat or the one piece of data that you've really picked up on that, like you and your team at Wow can't stop talking about, really?
So when I was putting this together, there was one stat that stood out, and but there were two stats that led up to this one stat. So I'm kind of cheating and
Go
giving
on, you can have three. You can have three then.
three. So the stat that stood out was I was really intrigued to see that profitability was up. So agencies have been squeezed when it comes to profitability
Yep.
for the last few years, and yet gross profit bounded to the highest level in 4 years. And I was really curious about why. And it didn't take me long to figure out what was going on, because 60% of agencies grew last year. And yet, despite more than half growing, agencies' team size remained the same. So the same number of agencies increased their team as they did decrease it. So over half grew, but team size remained the same. So agencies are doing more with the same number of staff. And when you do more with the same number of staff, that's where profitability increases. Now, there is a reason why this is happening, and we'll come on to that later. And I appreciate I'm teasing you all a little bit, but that is the stat that stood out. Profits are at a 4-year high, which after years of being squeezed, so pretty much since COVID, agencies have been squeezed. I think that's something worth celebrating.
Okay. So we've got profit, the highest for 4 years. That is definitely worth celebrating. You said you'd come on to it later. If we look at the headlines, we look across all the data that you get, and you get so much great data. What does it tell you of how 2025 actually landed for agencies? You've said the highest in 4 years, GP's growing. Was there anything in there that like really shocked you? Because that's exciting, but is there anything that shocked you? And why did those things happen? Why is that happening? Why are people doing more with less?
Well, there's a few things to unpack there. So if the top performing, so we're looking back, first of all, we must acknowledge this. So we'll come to looking forward in a second. But we're looking back on last year's data. And the reason that agencies, or the ones that performed the best, what they were doing was we noticed some new things around differentiation. So around 3 or 4 years ago, we asked a question that told us that if you're a highly differentiated agency, you were way more likely to grow and be profitable. But ever since then, we've been delving more into the detail. And this year we asked a question around how you differentiate yourself. Is it by niche, the type of clients that you serve? Is it by the service that you offer? And then the two extra questions we asked was, is it by outcome or methodology? So outcome, if you're differentiating yourself by outcome, you are not focusing on the deliverables. So website, SEO, video, those are the deliverables. You're focusing on the outcome. We help you retain clients, win clients, build fame, increase your average client value. Those are the outcomes. And the agencies that are differentiating themselves by outcome and by methodology. So a methodology is a written way of doing the same thing, getting the same result again and again and again. Those agencies outperform the rest, outstrip the rest. And in fact, the more of those four things that you're doing, the more that you are differentiating yourself by niche, by service, by outcome and methodology, the better you are performing. So your confidence is high, your hourly rates are high, your profitability is high, you're way more likely to grow, and you're way more likely to grow quickly. So that's the thing that's really interesting me, because it feels like all paths lead to one place. And I've been talking about this, we both have, Jay, for a few years now, the importance of standing out from the crowd. Don't be generalist, be specialist. And there was another piece of information that we gleaned from the data that was interesting, just around helping agencies narrow their focus. So we asked a question, how many services do you have? And most agencies actually have more than 11 services. So 50% of agencies have more than 11 services. That's a lot.
Claim they do more than 11 things.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
What we discovered was the agencies that have between 2 and 5 services are the ones that are the most profitable and the most likely to grow. So if you've got one service, like that's super niche, well done, but there's not many cross-selling or upselling opportunities. If you've got more than 5, you start to creep into generalist territory and you start to get generalist performance.
But and generalist prices, right?
Yeah. Because people, if you want to, if you want an expert, you've got to pay for it. So that was really interesting this year to see that all paths leading to one place, which is focused agencies being highly differentiated and by more than just what they do and who they do it for, but being differentiated by outcome and methodology. And this is where the world is moving. This is where the world is moving. And I'm really pleased to see that there's a bunch of agencies that are ahead of the game.
The methodology is really interesting because when you said GP ties for 4 years, 60% grew, less headcount, I think everyone listening to this probably would have gone, AI is doing that. But methodology throws a different angle on this because agencies we know for years, Pete, have said, how do we productize something that is repeatable over and over again? Did you see that it was the methodology having an impact on being able to do more with less?
So AI is definitely playing a part, and we will talk about that in more detail later about exactly under the bonnet what's going on there. But yeah, there's no doubt methodology is playing a big part of this because, well, if you don't have a methodology, you're having to almost reinvent the wheel every single time. And I know agencies like doing it. There's a creative process and it's lovely, but it's exhausting. It's really hard work to reinvent the wheel. It requires genius every single time. And actually, if you can document what you do, and say this is like, if you've got 5 people doing things in 5 different ways, go and see how they're doing it and find the best way, the one best way of all of them, and say this is how we do things, and write it down and get them to do it again and again and again. And it does a few things. Number one, it is more efficient, right? But it also improves quality because you can say this is the best way that we can add value for that client. So it improves quality. And if you're sat there thinking, well, look, we're super creative, we can't have a methodology. Well, look, I will remind you that this provides a framework for creativity. And even Banksy has stencils, right? He has a framework for his creativity. So you can get in and out and not get caught. Well, we need to get in and out and make some money as agency.
Yeah.
And that's what the methodology provides. So the other thing it provides is, I talked about the genius earlier. It means because if you have a set way of doing things, you don't need to employ people at such higher rates to deliver that work. You can bring in people lower down and say, this is how we do things, train them in that methodology. And that's where the margin increases. So you get repetition. It's able to be delivered by lower cost members of the team, and it ensures highest quality of output.
Yeah, that's really good. And the outcome side of things, again, agencies have been speaking about this for years. I think you call it value-based selling, not value-based pricing, which I love that change in the angle on that. I know there'll be a lot of people listening to this saying, yeah, Pete, that's Jay, it's all well and good, but my clients would struggle with that. Have you got any ideas or any details on how these agencies that have approached this outcome-based model have gone about it? Did they pivot generally? Did they just go one day, right, this is what we're going to do, we need to change? Have you actually, I know you speak to loads of people, Pete, have you got any sort of thoughts around that? How do agencies pivot to this outcome-based model?
Yeah, so probably my favorite case study with this was
I knew you'd have one. I knew you'd have one.
Well, it just really sticks in my mind. So, client of ours, video production agency, and we're getting around, sort of 30 to 50 grand briefs. Like, fine, doing well actually. They were around about 1 million, doing just fine. And they wanted to pivot up to focusing on the strategy, focusing on outcomes. And I sat down, they decided they want to do this, and I went out for lunch with them about 6 months after. And I said, how you getting on? They said, yeah, amazing. We've gone from winning 30 to 50 grand pieces of work to winning £250,000 like programs of work. I'm like, in 6 months, how have you done it? And they said, well, we just changed our positioning. We started, instead of talking about video, we started talking about strategy. Instead of running events about, content about video and events, we talked about strategy, and all of the language on our website changed, all of our contents changed, everything. And we started to have more conversations about strategy. Now that sounds really simple, and it was. I love that's all they did really. But there's something deeper than that. They got really curious because you can talk about strategy, but you've really got to understand what it means for the client. So when a client comes to you and says, we'd like this website done, and we'd like this video done, and we need some help with SEO, whatever it is that you do, you just need to go deeper and say, why? What is it you're trying to achieve? And what will that mean for the business? and really have the courage to go deeper and say, well, okay, what is it about this website that's going to make this campaign successful? What could what does success really look like for you? What really moves the needle? And if you can really deeply understand the client's strategic objectives, their challenges, and solve those challenges, help them achieve their objectives, you have a client for life, right? That's what clients want us to do. They want us to solve their challenges. They want us to help them look good and achieve their objectives. And to do that, we need to deeply understand those things. We need to ask lots of questions. And that's what I see the most successful ones doing, rather than just jumping on a brief. You get a brief and you just go, great, oh my God.
Yeah, let's price it up.
Yeah, let's price it. Quick, everyone gather around. We've got a pitch. Hooray. No. Jump on the phone. Can we ask you some questions? Right. Why are you doing this? What have you tried in the past? Why do you want this to be different? How will it be different? What outcomes, what does success really look like?
Why now?
Yeah, why now? You say more clients. Well, how many more? What type of clients? What's your convert? Like, really drill down into all the detail, all the nuances to really understand. There's a brilliant bit of research from Verity. You can go and check it out. And Verity look at the relationship between clients and agencies, and they poll clients regularly in the same way that we do for agencies about the sentiment and what's working. Now, clients are telling agencies unequivocally that what is most important to them is not the work. So the work is ranked 30th on the list of things of importance.
That I've heard that before. That is just mad.
But what's higher up the list is some other things. And I just need to dig down and here we go.
I mean, at least we're showing this isn't scripted, Pete. We've gone off on a tangent and now you're off trying to find some stuff.
Oh no, I found it. Don't worry. I figured this might crop up. So we've got number 1, strategic vision. Number 2, business understanding. Number 3, relationships. So strategic vision, business understanding, relationships. Those are the things that clients value most. Wow. And if you've got the relationships, you're asking questions, you're really deeply understanding them, you're going to figure out the outcomes they want. And then you can build your service around achieving those outcomes. You know, I heard a great tip from an agency owner, a really dear friend of mine who sold her agency for millions, said one of the keys to their successes was for every new client that they took on, they thought about the press release at the end of the project. So they imagined what they would send out. We work for this client and we achieve this outcome by doing these things. And they almost wrote that beforehand in conjunction with the client. And then they had that in their mind when they were delivering it. So they just didn't think about the deliverables. They thought about the outcome that they were trying to achieve for that client and almost wrote the press release beforehand and imagined seeing it in campaign or the drum.
That fits in with Dan Priestley's movie. Visualize the movie.
Yeah.
Doing.
Yeah. Do you want to explain that movie thing again? Because we heard it firsthand at the BenchPress.
I loved it. You probably do a better job of it than me, though, Pete. Do you know what I mean? Right. Yeah, you do it. You'll do a better job than me.
So it's helping the client visualize what success looks like. So imagining them at the end game, celebrating this amazing thing that you've done together. So, I mean, a really good question to ask, like prospects, existing clients, say, look, at the end of this, imagine this has been hugely successful. What does that look like? How will it make you feel? And let's get that movie playing in their heads so they want to move towards it, right? Because that's the vision we have in our minds. That's what helps us buy. It's the dream of that thing, not necessarily that thing. So in Daniel Priest's example, it's not the car. It's the dream of driving the car.
Driving it.
Around the roads.
I think that's what resonated with me the most.
Yeah. Around the roads of the Amalfi Coast. It's the vision of success, not necessarily the thing. It's not the campaign that you're going to do or the piece of work you're going to do, but it's what that could mean for that client and their career and their brand or their business, whatever it is, whatever role they're playing, whether you're dealing with a marketing manager or a director or a business owner. What does that mean in their minds? If you can get that movie playing, then, well, that's a great outcome to head towards.
Yeah. And that really ties in with the whole people buy emotionally, but they make the decision logically. And it's how do you get people? That's when Dan said it, buying into that move. It's like, that's the emotion. You're getting that emotion on the table. This is what it would feel like driving that Targa 4 around the Amalfi Coast or whatever it was, or, my brand up in lights because we've done that. And then they'll make the decision then logically on, right, wow, company's the best people to work with here to achieve that. Pete, we're at 48. I'm really conscious of time. I don't think we can come off this call without talking about AI and the impact it will have had along with the methodology and the outcome of growing that GP, the highest in 4 years. I think we've got to give it some time to have a chat. So from the report, what was coming out? What was coming out with agencies using AI?
Yeah, so this bit I found really, really interesting. So I think AI is playing a huge part in that growth, but keeping staff numbers the same. And actually, what I'm expecting next year is that we will see growth and maybe even staff numbers reduce. And we're already seeing that over in consultancies. In fact, something we're seeing over in consultancies, because we benchmark them as well, is that the hourly rates for those junior roles are dropping. Now, that hasn't happened yet for agencies, but for consultancy clients, they are already devaluing that lower value work. Now, this was one of the fears for agencies, right? That clients would take work in-house, that prices would drop. And some of those things have happened, right? So when we look at the report, we can see that some of those fears have been realized. 38% say that clients have taken work in-house. 32% say clients expect to pay less. However, way more than that are reporting positive things happening. So 68% say we're delivering more quickly, 54% say we're delivering more value to clients, and 36% say our cost of delivery is reduced. Now, when you take all of those things together, the negative things and the positive things, and you ask a very simple question, which is overall, what impact has AI had on your business? I can tell you that 72% of agencies say it's either been positive or extremely positive, and only 3% say it's overall been negative. And then the rest in between, 25% are neutral. So 72% either positive or extremely positive. Only 3% have anything negative, have overall negative consequences. That is a big swing in the positive direction. So yes, as humans, we are intrinsically wired to be fearful of change. And this is a monumental change. But right now, those that are grasping that opportunity, riding the AI wave, are seeing the benefits. Yeah. They are making more profit. They are doing more with either the same number of staff or less. They're being more efficient. They're delivering more value to clients. This is an incredibly exciting opportunity. What a time to be alive. Now, we're also seeing that those are embedding it across their whole business are getting disproportionately better results. So 99% of agencies are using AI. Some are dabbling with it. Some are using it successfully in parts of their business, but there's a small chunk that are using it successfully across their whole business. And those that are using it successfully across their whole business, around 15%, are getting a big profit advantage as a result. Now, that's the overall landscape. Currently, things are positive. There's a first mover advantage. And for those of you thinking, well, how do I ride that wave? How do I take the most of the opportunity? Well, we asked some questions about what agencies are actually doing with AI. And this disappointed me. Sorry to sound like I don't know, your dad or a school teacher or something. But I said this time last year, not enough of you are doing these things.
Yeah, you do.
And still not enough agencies are running training sessions with their team. So bear in mind, 99% of agencies are using AI. Only 60% have run training sessions with their team. Only 60% have an internal AI policy. Only 57% have agreed a company-wide platform. Only 47% have notified clients that they're using AI. And this is the one that I suppose really is the big takeaway. Less than half, only 44% have created a strategy. Right. So the most transformational piece of technology, the most transformational change that anyone listening to this has been through, right? And we're all using it, 99% are using it, only 44% have actually got a strategy. That's where we need to look, right, we need to create our strategies. We need to do the thinking. We need to do the planning. We need to figure out what we're doing with this. And there's suggestions in the report, or there's case studies about the three types of agencies, or agencies that fall into three groups about how they're using AI. And if you're sat there wondering where to start, a really good place to start is with your workflows. So review everything that you do in your business and ask yourself, how can we make this AI first with human oversight
Yeah,
rather than human first? So AI first with human oversight, will dramatically change your prospects, because all of a sudden you're getting the lower value work done way more efficiently, and you're leaving yourself more time to do the highly valuable stuff, the bit that clients really value. You're freeing yourself up to build greater business understanding, build closer relationships, add more value, build more outcomes for
yeah.
clients. So that's where to start. Create a strategy, stop dabbling with this.
Yeah, I
um,
think you're right, Pete.
it's
And I
coming
think
in.
with that strategy as well, I know a lot of agents would be like, well, I can use it in all my workflows. Where do I start? I think for me, I'm saying find the area that will give you the biggest impact to start with, based on effort as well. So if it's loads of effort for massive impact and it's your first project, that's probably not the thing to tackle. Tackle some smaller things first using AI and let it then radiate out, rather than doing like, right, that's a massive problem. Let's try to solve it with AI and get in a right mess and go, right, it didn't really work. I think the other thing with AI you have to recognize, you will get it wrong as well. You won't get it right first time. This will be an evolving use of AI and making it become part of that everyday workflow in your business. I love that AI first and human oversight. I think that every business has to be moving to that now.
And I think it's also a cultural thing as well. You know, if you think that your team are using these really powerful tools, well, what guidance are you giving them?
Yep.
What guardrails are there? There's big governance issues, right, with this as well. So how are you managing the risk as well as grasping the opportunity? And how are you building a culture that embraces this and uses it as a force for good in a considered, aligned way, rather than, I don't know, it could get really messy if we
Yeah.
get this wrong. It could get really messy.
The thing I'm hoping for 2025, I've not really heard many agencies talking about this at the moment, or businesses really. I think people are looking at AI as this efficiency, cost saving tool. I think next year, moving forward, people are going to start saying, how do we use AI to drive different revenue streams that we might not have been able to do before because we didn't have the skill or the experience to do it? I think that's the next step. People are going to say, okay, well, we've sorted the efficiencies out. How do we now take this to drive revenue streams we never could have done? Have you seen any agencies in the report, Pete, coming through? You may not have. I just wondered, out of curiosity, are agencies now saying, oh, we've created this revenue stream that we never would have done because of tech, because of AI?
Yeah, I'm just going to I've just shared the download link for anyone who's not seen a copy of the report. But when you do
Brilliant. Thank you.
this report, if you turn to page 38, scroll down to page 38. Sorry, again, I've turned into a teacher. Gee. So right, school books out, turn to page 38. You will notice that these three groups of agencies. So step one is optimizing, exactly as you say. It's protecting human value, it's improving efficiency, it's expanding margin. It's all about efficiency. Step two is productizing what you do, where you reduce the reliance on projects, you're building intellectual property, you're creating recurring revenue, you're actually using AI to create products that you can take to clients. I've seen so many agencies use this. There's like a myriad of examples. I don't want to give too much away because I know some things are in early stage development, and I don't want to give too much away, but go and chat to some of your agency pals that are doing this. In fact, go to the Agency Hackers Robots event. It's twice a year. You'll just be surrounded by people who are at the forefront of this innovation. So productize is stage two. And then there's the agencies that are completely reinventing themselves. So they're designing AI-enabled operating models. They're leading clients through the change. They're completely repositioning themselves as AI agencies. You know, we will help you implement this technology. We will help you make the most of this, and they're leading the way themselves. So optimization is number one, and that is all about efficiency. Then it's productization, new revenue streams, and then it's completely reinventing yourself. And in the report, page 38, you'll see exactly what those three types of agencies look like. And it is a journey. I think you've got to do stage one first to really get to grips with the tech. But then after that, it's where it starts to get really interesting. And, I spoke to an agency yesterday that has created a product that's so exciting, that has the potential to be massive, right? Bigger than their current agency. And it's in their field of expertise. They have clients already that could use this and they can test it with. And I'm pretty sure most people listening to this, right? What could you build that would complement your service? A piece of tech that could complement your service that you could take to your existing clients to beta test, who would willingly test it for you. You can build out intel around the functionality of it, but also some guidance around pricing as well, the commercial elements of it. I'm pretty sure that if you put your mind to it, you could build something, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. Pete, can you believe it's 10 o'clock? That's just gone like that. I really appreciate giving you time up, and that thoughts coming out of your head from that report are brilliant, mate. Really, really good. We ask all our A game guests one final bit of advice. What would it be? What's the one takeaway from today you'd give everyone that's joined?
It's a final piece of insight from the report.
Brilliant.
What we discovered was that the agencies that are building their business to sell outperform the rest. So we ask, what is your number one priority for your business? Is it time? Is it money? Are you building a forever business? Is it purpose? Or are you building to sell? The agencies that are doing that fifth one, building to sell, outperform the rest. Now, it doesn't mean that you should sell your agency, but it means that you build it as if you are. You have the discipline and focus to make your profit numbers non-negotiable. 50% gross profit, 20% operating profit. It's the discipline and focus to do your planning and build your strategy and have a cadence of review. And if you do that, you'll have way more options, one of which will be selling, but a myriad of others. So whatever it is that if you want more time, this will help you have more time. If you want more purpose, this will help you have more purpose. If you want more money, this will absolutely help you get more money. It's about building a business that could be sold in the future. That discipline and focus will really help.